Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited for y'all to be here. I'm excited to be here. It has been a life-changing week for me. Over this past week, my father passed away, and I've been doing a lot of, things that you need to do to prepare for final arrangements. And I thought that it was perfect to still be here today because he would tell me, like, what are you doing? We got work to do. So let's do it. If you have any questions or anything, please let us know in the chat or, um, oh, the chat is disabled. Thank you. That's probably why you're not letting us know. Let me do this. Everyone. Okay, you should be all good to go. So let me know if you still have a problem after that. Okay, so like I was saying, we have been making final arrangements, and it had me thinking about a story, like something that came up for me. So maybe some of you are not as familiar with me, but in my first semester of the PhD process, my identity up to that point was that I am a smart student. I get all A's. That was my identity. If I'm not getting all A's, I'm getting mostly A's. But something changed when I got into the PhD process, and that it stopped being about the reading or about like answering questions correctly, and it started being about what you thought, what your opinion of everything is. And as someone who is deep into people pleasing, I didn't know what my opinion was. Didn't have much practice doing that. And so I would freeze a lot of the time in classroom, and I would just do a lot of overthinking. And I got so much in my head and so burnt out that I just couldn't write. Like I would start assignments weeks ahead of time and I just couldn't do it. And I got to the end of the fall semester. I survived it, and I got a letter from the graduate school that said, you are now on academic probation and you have one more semester to get into good standing, or we're just going to politely ask you to leave, girl. And I got even more depressed. Like I wasn't picking up my phone for anyone. I was just eating cookie butter from Trader Joe's and watching Army Wives. And I think it was like December 23rd, or maybe it was like Christmas Eve. But my dad called me and he's like, what's wrong with you? He's a very no nonsense person. He's just like, what is wrong with you? And I was telling him, and he was like, you just need to come home. And I was like, the tickets have to be like $1,000 or something. Like, I'm not coming home. He said, well, look it up and call me back. So I did that and I went home, and, he let me have a day or two. And then he looked at me and he said, what are you going to do? You know what the problem is. And I was like, I don't. I'm trying everything. It's not working. And he said, what's the process? He said, what did I always teach you? And his rule was always, whenever you go into an organization, like you got a new job or you're doing anything new for the first time, you go find the rule book and you learn the rule book and you follow the process. And I was trying to explain to him, but this is a PhD. There's no rule book. I mean, there's a program book, but they don't got many rules in it. People are not very clear about how you're supposed to do this. And he said, there's a process. You can go learn it. And when you learn it, you'll be good to go. And so I went back being like, okay, I'm going to go get a 4.0. And I worked really hard, y'all. And I was able to get a 4.0 for that spring semester. But those lessons and him forcing me to come home like has never failed me. It is a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm probably going to sprinkle even more stories into this. But I also say that to say, I hope that I can have your grace this evening because I did not get to finish my presentation to my standards, but I could be a perfectionist. But I'm still going to ask you for your grace. And thank you so much for your condolences and your well wishes. It's challenging right now. I'm not going to say it was completely unexpected, but no one thought it would happen this soon. But his final arrangements will be next Friday. And interesting enough, next Friday is his birthday. which I think is, I don't know, Kismet maybe. But it is also the birthday of Qual Scholars. So it is a very important day next Friday, and I am excited to, and I'm heartbroken to celebrate it with him and our family and our friends. So, also in this grace that I'm asking for, I had AI do this presentation, and I want you to know that I am very tickled by these pictures. I would love to know what your thoughts are when you see these pictures. Now, I wrote all the stuff myself, but I had AI create the slides for me. So, this would be very interesting. But this is the From Coursework to Proposal in 90 Days. And we're going to talk about how yes, you are going to write your proposal in the next 90 days. I don't care if this is the only time that we will have the pleasure of enjoying community with one another. Whether you decide to go your separate ways or not, I just want you to hear me right now. For the next 90 minutes, you are a student of Qual Scholars and you are a student of the Finish Your Dissertation Institute because we are in here as well. So you're going to have people who are in the program, you're going to have people who've been a part of the community, or maybe this is your first time. Either way, I am going to treat you like a client for the next 90 minutes, and we are going to have some direct but necessary conversations. Before we get too far off, what's happening? Why don't you want me to be great? Why are you not moving? Hold on. Is the Mercury retrograde over? Who knows? Let's try this again. Okay, there we go. Please let me know, what should we call you? Now, you may have your name on your Zoom, but sometimes people don't have their name. So, what shall we call you and where are you joining from? Right now, I am currently in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Chicago. And so I've been in Chicago for the past week, and this is the time of year where Chicago tricks you. You'd be like, the weather is cute. Like, it's real cute. It's warm in the day, it's cool at night. The sunsets are beautiful. The vibe is good, especially if you're downtown. And if you're not careful, okay, you might be like, I could live here. But just remember, this only lasts for a couple of weeks. So I've just been excited that I could have the time in Chicago that I've been having. I'll be back next week. So I'll enjoy that as well. Okay, Stonecrest. I was just driving through there, Robin. I've been going on a lot of drives, so that's where I tend to go. I'm not really sure. It could be because I used to live in Stockbridge, so I just drive that direction. So thank y'all. Okay, New York City, DMV, Pennsylvania. I love it. Why did you join tonight's workshop? Like, there's a lot of things that you could be doing on your Wednesday night. There's a lot of people who signed up for this workshop. They're not here. They had all the great intentions when maybe they saw my ad or whatnot, but they're not here. Maybe they talked themselves out of it. Who knows? Maybe happened for them. I don't know, but you are here, and I want to know why you are here. You might have a lot of reasons. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't care what you say. This is a judge-free zone. I want to know your truth. So I'm gonna ask you some questions and I really want to know your truth tonight. So anxiety and hope is real. They live, they live in the same place a lot of times. And multiple things can be true all at the same time, y'all. Huge procrastinator almost didn't join tonight. Well, I'm so glad. I'm so grateful, Robin, that you are here. And I hope that, like, by the end of this, listen, you have so much hope that you can do this. Between caregiving and now grieving, I can't focus. Yeah, I need to finish this. I often say that grief is the only constant in life. And if you haven't been someone who's been deeply touched by grief, it's coming. It's I see it as humans, it is something that we must constantly navigate. And grief isn't only associated when someone transitions into the spiritual world. Sometimes grief is Life didn't turn out the way you thought. That relationship didn't work out. You thought you wanted one thing and you got there and you're like, this ain't what they told me it was going to be. Grief comes in all shapes and sizes, y'all. Come on, presentation slides, Chris. I can't wait to hear about how it goes for you. I was told I was too old to complete my doctorate when my age really finished. That's rude. That's rude of them. They rude. That's rude. That's their, you know, is it sexism? I want to say ageism. All of the isms. Come on, look at you getting through your comps. I can't. I want to update Michelle about how comps are going. Okay. Thank y'all for your responses. Maybe you don't have the words of why you joined. You just like, listen, I don't got nothing else, girl. Maybe you are feeling very stuck and overwhelmed. It's like you have all this information. Maybe you have joined a lot of workshops. Maybe you've had conversations with so many people. Maybe you've read so much and now you just you have so much floating that you don't know where to start. You don't know which direction to go in. You don't know how to actually move forward. Like you have an idea of what to do. You know you need to write a proposal, but you don't know what your first steps should be. Maybe you're like, if somebody would just tell me what to do, I will do it. That's what I used to say. I'm like, just tell me the steps, give me a plan. I could follow instructions, but what I can't do is y'all be like, just write, it'll come. No, it ain't coming. It's been months, it's been years, it ain't coming. And maybe you're just like, I need some accountability. Like, I just need somebody who's gonna be there with me, who's gonna check in and make sure I get this done. Or maybe you're just like, listen, I just need to finish. I don't care how I finish. I need to finish. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe you got a life event happening. Maybe you just so sick and tired of this that you just like, I'm leaving here with something and I'm ready to be done. Somebody said all of the above. Absolutely. If this is your first time joining me, because I did not introduce myself, I am Dr. Marvette Lacy, and I have been working in some capacity formally in higher education for 18 years. I like to say I'm higher ed adjacent right now. I have had many roles across higher ed. And you can't quite see it, so let me scroll this down. I attended the University of Georgia in a college student affairs PhD program. Both my master's and my PhD is in college student affairs. And that's just a collage of degrees and disciplines. It pretty much says, how do you structure a learning environment that helps college students succeed? That is my most simplest way to say what it is that I got my degrees in. So I am someone in a day my day could start off by teaching 18-year-olds how to do laundry, and it could end with me being in the office of the president talking about a new DEI initiative. It runs the gamut of what we could do, but we are usually the awkward people in the corner trying to talk to you, probably when you were a first year student, asking you, do you want to come to a pizza party? That's what we do. We get going. I founded Qual Scholars in 2017 as a doc student who was supposed to be writing their dissertation, but I needed something else to do. I needed something that was going to keep me motivated to do the dissertation. So I was like, business is going to be it. And at that point, I was helping all of my friends learn qualitative research and helping them with their dissertation. And I had the fortune of having a business coach who was like, I think that's your business. You're trying to make this other thing work and you have a gift. So you should teach people how to design research and how to write. So that is what I've been doing ever since. In 2020, I created the Finish Your Dissertation Institute because I was working with students one on one up to that point, and I found myself being like, one of my biggest values is community, and will fight anybody. Listen, I'm an Aries moon if you're into astrology, so my go-to is to fight. Okay, so I will fight anybody who says community doesn't mean anything. Community to me is everything. Community is everything. And I wanted to bring doc students together and create a classroom like environment that I know I needed as a student, and I know my clients need it. And as a result, we have helped over 100 students become doctor. A few years ago, I went to the retirement party of one of my favorite faculty members, and she in her speech, she said, I've helped over 45 people become doctor. And it hit me in that moment because I had just hit 100. I was like, oh, wow, look at the impact of what community can do. And so now our goal, our mission is 1,000 doctors by 2030. And so I'm someone who dreams big. I'm someone who's like, we set impossible goals here. So I'm like, that doesn't quite make sense to hit by 2030, but it's gonna happen, right? Because I believe it. And so when I tell you that you could do something that seems impossible, like write a proposal in 90 days, just know that I'm walking my talk. I'm not going to tell you to do something that I haven't done or that I wouldn't be willing to do. As an example, and if we fast forward to my third year in the program, y'all, I had hit a wall. Now I know it to be autistic burnout, but I had hit a wall and I could not move. I was on every medication you could think of. I would look at my laptop and just break out and just like, I just couldn't do it. And I was seeing all these doctors and everybody just kept saying, that's what it means to be a graduate student. And I was like, well, that's wild. Is there a healthier way to do this? But after taking much needed time to take a rest and take care of myself, I went to a writing retreat and there it kicked off me writing. And I'll tell that story at some other time. But after that, I was able to write my full 3 chapter proposal in 3 weeks. And after I defended it, y'all, I was like, oh, I'm going to take a break because I just got over this huge hurdle of a whole year of being burnt out. But my chair was like, no, girl, you don't get a year. You have 2 months. You have 2 months to go from IRB to a full draft of your dissertation in my inbox. And I just was like, I don't know how. How am I supposed to do that? But I did it. And I defended on April 11th, 2017. So these are all the things to me, my case, if you will, of why I know a little bit something about something, and I am gonna tell you about writing your proposal in 90 days. So this is what I am basing this presentation off of. I understand that different programs have different requirements, but I know that you'll be able to take something from this. This is based off of 50-page draft of your proposal. So that's what I want you to lock into your mind right now, that your goal is to get to about 50 pages because 50 pages is enough information to say, this is what my study is, this is what I plan to do, and this is why I plan to do it the way I'm designing it. And it is enough for you to defend. At the very least, it is enough for your committee to say, okay, we see the vision, but this is just to give you an anchor. I've had people defend 25-page proposals, 200-page proposals. Those are for my people who like to write. Okay, the people who got all the words, my Gemini people, type people, that's for them. But for the rest of us, okay, 25 to 50 pages is more than enough. I am going to be asking you to commit to 10 hours a week of focused writing, and we're going to talk about what that actually means. And I am going to expect that as you are going through this process, that you learn to treat and see your committee as the colleagues and collaborators that they are, because they are. They are equal. They are not this, extreme authority figure. They are your peers. When you start treating them as such, you will notice a completely different experience when you talk to them. What you're going to get today is the roadmap that I teach those hundreds of students I work with, as well as what we do right now inside of Finish Your Dissertation. You're going to walk away with clarity. That's what I can promise. Keep breathing. Yes. Everybody take a deep breath. If you need to go get some water, because y'all know how I am, go get some water. I'm actually double fisted today. Okay. I got some tea and I got some water. And we're going to talk about how do you have confidence, right? So we're going to say bye to overwhelm, burnout, endless reading and revising. So are you ready? Put a 1 in the chat if you like, yes, girl, I'm with you. Put a 2 if you like, I don't know, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm here. Put a 3 if you like, I'm not ready, but I'm not leaving. What is your number for today? Okay, we got a lot of 1s and 2s. It is okay if it's a 3. That's real. If that's your truth, that's your truth. There's plenty of things that I'm like, no, I'm not ready, but I love a good workshop. Okay. If you've been around me any length of time, you know that I tell you stop reading. Stop reading. You've read enough. It's time to put down the books and the articles because I know what I know about you. You know more than enough to write this entire dissertation. You just don't know that yet. You know more than enough. I know you might be saying, well, you don't know me. You're not in my head. I know. You know enough. Because all I need is a 5 minute conversation with you to know you know enough. What you might be missing, though, is structure. I have a love of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, and he says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. What that means is it doesn't matter what the goal is if you don't have the routines and the habits in place to support that goal. Right now, the goal on the table is writing your proposal in 90 days. But do you have the structure? Do you have the routine? Do you have the habits that will get you there to finishing a proposal in 90 days? Do you have a supportive community to guide you, to cheer you on, to help you troubleshoot? And do you have accountability? Do you know when things are due? A supportive witness? Because accountability means there is a person or someone outside of me who I told this is what I said I was going to do and this is what I actually did, and they're witnessing that progress, and someone there to celebrate you. These three things, when you have them, when they're locked in, there's no way you can't win. So I want you to check in right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your level of confidence that you can finish your proposal in the next 90 days? Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being like, nope, I'm just here because it was a nice title, girl. 5, it might be. I'm not sure. It might be. Maybe it can happen for somebody else, but not me. Or 10, you like, it's done. Just tell me what to do and say less. I'm there. It's just a matter of time. Where are you? Okay, Carolyn, look at you. Because if I would have asked you that what a year ago, what would that number be? Okay, for final Ashley, now, I haven't had an opportunity to go on a good rant for a long time. I'm gonna need that 7 to get a little bit higher. Now, don't, if you are new to me, I'm not gonna come at you like that. This is for current FYD students. Get a taste. It's done now. Yes. If you did not put a 10 in the chat, what is holding you back? What's the main thing or your biggest obstacle that is preventing you from feeling fully confident that you could do this in 90 days? Anxiety. Hmm. Listen, it's my little friend. It's my little broke friend that I let sit in the back seat. Anxiety is helpful. It's just a little broke. It's just a little broke. I feel like the biggest limiting factor is getting my advisors to cooperate with me. Listen, okay, trying to manage faculty is hurting cats. You like, hello, focus. I didn't believe people when they were like, faculties, they so much until I had to work with them. I said, oh, I get it. I get it. Finding time while working full time. Yeah, I feel like I need to read more. Yep. Just a little broke. Because, anxiety will keep you broke because anxiety will just keep thinking about the what ifs and never do the thing and you won't make any money. I don't know why I'm equating this to money, but we here now. A more seasoned person returning. Okay, you're a more seasoned person, lacks boundaries. Recruitment is hard, illness. Oh, wow, 98. What a life. Yes, attended grad faculty. I haven't done the analysis. You know what, Chris? You know what I'm going to say. Do you need to do it? Okay, y'all, I'm gonna go through some things for the rest of this presentation. And I grew up in Black church. Okay, so that means I'm gonna need you to talk back to me. I'm gonna need you to talk back in this chat as we go through this today. So you can put a yes if anytime I say something that you like, okay, girl, get out my business. You too close. Or if something just really resonates with you, you could type yes. You could type other words as well. I'm just trying to give you something helpful to put in the chat so that I know that you with me. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are the three major obstacles that people usually tell me as I've been doing this for the past, what, 8 or 9 years. This is what people usually tell me. I don't have enough time. Girl, it took me 90 days to figure out what my topic was. You think I'm about to write a proposal in 90 days? Or you might be like, I don't have what it takes, girl. I didn't read enough. I don't know enough. I don't even know what to say. Or you're like, I don't have enough motivation. Okay. I don't got enough energy to do this. And then the third reason or obstacle is your committee, right? We were talking about that a minute ago. You're like, my committee is not going. Okay. They don't believe in me. They don't believe any student can do this. They don't believe I could produce good work in that amount of time. These are the three obstacles that I find. So let's go with obstacle number one, not enough time. Like I said, my father would be like, let's do the math. So I always start off with every problem with, let's do the math. This could be actual math, like we're about to do in this case, or it could be what are the facts of the situation. So let's say if I was being very generous, it takes you 2 hours to write a page. If I told you right now to open up a document and just write a page, don't matter what's on the page, doesn't matter if the words make sense or not. If I just told you to put words on a page, right, I argue you could do it in 10 minutes. But if I'm being generous, I would say, okay, I'll give you about 2 hours per page. Okay. If we are working towards a 50-page draft as a proposal and we do 2 times 50, then that gives us 100 hours. Go with me, right? 100 hours spread out over 12 weeks is 8 hours a week. If you were to evenly spread it out over the 90 days, that's about an hour and a half each day. Do you have 8 hours every week to devote to your proposal? Many of you were staring at your laptop screen on Sunday for 8 hours. Many of you were scrolling on TikTok. Listen, this ain't no shade about TikTok and your scrolling and your habits. This is me just pointing out that this is not about the time. I want to bust through this right now. You have the time. You have the physical time to write a proposal in 90 days. What you might be interpreting as a time issue is more of a like a confidence issue. You may spend more time when you're staring at that screen being like, okay, but what do I say? And how do I say it? But if I say it like this, is it going to sound academic enough? Is this going to be something that my chair is actually going to believe? What if I write it the wrong way? What if I interpret the literature the wrong way? How do I know I'm doing this right? You're spending most of your time entertaining that conversation. And notice my word choice. You are entertaining that conversation. It's not a problem that your anxiety is raising those questions. That's not a problem. Let your anxiety do what it's meant to do. Your anxiety has a job, and its job is to look towards the future and say, these things might come up. What are we going to do about it? But that's not a problem. We want anxiety to do that. It saves us. Your thing, what you want to work on is stop entertaining it. Stop feeding into it. Stop being like, but what if you're right? Stop entertaining it. And recognize that it's not a time issue, it's a feelings issue. You're waiting for a feeling. I write when I feel confident. When I know, listen, I used to say all the time, when it clicks, I'm a write. Meaning when I feel like it clicks, I'm a write. When I'm able to work it out in my head, when I feel motivated, when I feel like I have enough time, when I feel feelings, y'all, they're listen, your feelings are valid. Let me say this right now because I do not want this to get twisted. Your feelings, how you feel right now. If you feel hopeful, you feel anxious, you feel nervous, you feel scared, you feel angry, whatever you're feeling, those are valid, those are real. And you don't have to feel a certain way to write. Feeling a certain way isn't a requirement for you writing a dissertation, right? But watch for this though. Because you might be like, it's not really feelings. I want you to think about when you have had a long day, you had to go talk to them people at that job. You had to go talk to them people in that academic program. You got to talk to the people at the store who was rude and your mama who keep calling you, like my mama, to tell me every little detail, right? And now you at the end of the day, you said you were going to write, but now you don't have no energy to write. You might say, but that is an energy issue. I'm going to tell you, no, you are emotionally drained. These are about your feelings. And so, everyone, make sure that you have the chat set to everyone. Again, unless you want to keep your chat private, but I just want to give that reminder. Maybe you said, okay, today I'm going to start this new section of my literature review. And you go to write this new section, maybe your chair suggested a theory to you, and you like, I'm not really familiar with this theory. And so, because you're not really familiar, your brain tells you, let me go read, let me go read. And then next thing you're three rabbit holes down trying to learn about a theory, and you're not even reading about the theory no more. You didn't went from the history to something else. You would tell me, like if we were talking one on one, you would be like, Dr. Lacy, but for real, I don't know this theory, so I had to read in order to write. And I would tell you, I know that sounds logical. Truthfully, though, it is not that you didn't know because you read. You've been reading for the past 3 hours, so we know you know. That's not it. You feel uncertain because it's new. You're not as sure about this theory as you was about the last one, but this is about your feelings. And I want you to know that confidence, motivation, certainty, those emotions, they don't come before the writing process. So if you're waiting around for motivation, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. Here's how you know that you're waiting, because maybe you're still not convinced. Hold on. You wait for long blocks of free time to appear. You might say, if I don't have at least 4 or 5 hours straight in my calendar, I can't write. But I can't do that. You might say, I need to go lock. I used to be like, I want to just lock myself away in a cabin in the woods with no cell service, and then I'll be able to write. You think like, once I'm clear, I'll know exactly what to write, but I'm not clear yet, so I'm letting it marinate. Like I'll start. Like you might sit down and be like, today is the day. You sit down and you're like, but I need to read a few more things, just a few more things. Or you rewrite the same sentence or the same paragraph over and over. You keep going back and forth, and you never turn in a draft to anybody for feedback. All of these are because of your feelings. And remember, I said confidence, motivation, clarity, certainty comes afterwards. To be confident about a thing, you need evidence that you can do the thing, right? I'm confident that I could drive from Georgia to Illinois. Why? Because I've done it so many times over the past 15 plus years. I could tell you the route. I've done it so much. I can look back in the past and say, I did it all those times. I can tell you what path to take. I am confident in my ability to, I don't know, twist my hair because I've been natural also for 15 years and I've done it so many times. Confidence comes after you do the thing. Because in order to get evidence, right? Like we have to do it. We have to show up and do the thing. You only get motivated to keep going after you're already in action. It's only after you do something, like say you learning how to ride a bike for the first time. You may not be all that confident or motivated to do it. You might be motivated because you're like, oh, I see the kids. But then when you get on that bike, especially when you take your training wheels off, I want you to go back to that time in your life. trying to learn how to balance and sit on the bike and adjust and you in a small frame, like that's a lot. But after a few weeks of riding the bike, oh no, you got motivation. You like, I'm ready to go. I feel confident I could do it. But what is probably really holding you up is that what you don't realize is that you're learning something new. This whole perfection is a trap. I want to break this down. You're learning something new. You have never written a dissertation before. Yes, you may have written papers in classes. You may have written like research papers. Maybe you were in a master's program that required a thesis. You've done those things, but you haven't written a dissertation before. And it matters because in a dissertation, it's not just about writing another paper, it's also designing research. It's also you writing and designing research based on how you think, your ideas, what you have to say. And because this is your first time doing something, it makes sense that you're not fully confident about it. It makes sense that after you had a few stumbles, or maybe you said something the wrong way, or maybe you didn't quite understand how to do a thing, you don't know the difference between mixed methods and qualitative, and you're trying to ask your chair, you might be like, why is this so hard? I've been in school all this time and I can't even write a little 200, 300 page paper. It's not that simple in the sense of that's not the only thing we're doing here. My point to you is everything that has happened up to this point and beyond, but up to this point, those things that you feel like I should have done better, I should have known better, I should have did that differently, none of that is a problem. I don't care if you like, no, but the clock is about to run out. None of it's a problem. It is not a problem. It is all you learning how to do something you've never done before. And if you are someone who comes from a family of people who don't have doctorate degrees, they didn't even make it to college at all, or they have no idea what this world is that you're in, it makes even more sense because how would you know? Everybody here, how would you know how to do it? If you've never done it, you don't have anybody around you telling you. I'm not talking about your program and your faculty, I'm talking about your people. If you didn't grow up in an environment that was constantly training you for this moment, how would you know? So I'm asking you to give yourself some relief, give yourself some grace because you are doing something you've never done before. And here's, but I'm gonna get off the soapbox after this. Of 100% of doc students who started with you when you started your program, 40 to 50% of them did not make it to this moment you're standing in right now. Think about that. Over half of the people did not make it to the dissertation. So you are doing way better than you think you are right now because over half of the people couldn't get to this point and you are here. You are still in the program. You still have a chance. Okay, I will get off my soapbox. I want you to ask yourself, am I going to be student A or am I going to be student B? Student A says, I don't need the process. I'm going to do what I've always been doing. I got multiple degrees. It's not the first time I've been writing. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to figure this out in my head. I'm going to spend 45 minutes trying to find the perfect citation to go with this one sentence that I just spent the past 3 hours on writing. But then, even when I find the citation and even when I spent the 3 hours trying to wordsmith it, I'm still going to second guess if it makes sense, if it's going to be something that my chair is going to love. So I'm going to keep rereading articles and rereading notes because I just want to make sure I got it right. And that eventually leads to only having probably one or two sentences on a page, or you have nothing at all to show for it. Or student B, who has a process, who also is like, I don't know what I'm doing, but this process says I'm just supposed to find a focus for today. What am I going to do for today's session? And then I'm going to make a little 3 to 5 bullet point outline of what I already know about this. I don't know everything about this, but I'm going to just say these 3 points that I do know. And then based on those 3 things I do know, I'm going to write 3 shitty paragraphs about them. And I'm going to let them be shitty. I'm going to edit them enough so they can be less shitty, but they're not going to be perfect. And then I'm going to send them to my homegirl so she could tell me if my ideas are making sense. I'm going to give her instructions not to, we don't need to do the wordsmith part right now. We're not trying to find the perfect citation right now. Right now, I just want to know, do you understand what I'm saying? Hmm? So student A or student B, because they both have the same worries in the beginning, but student A doesn't have a process and just keeps doing the same thing over and over, whereas student B has a process, still isn't 100% certain that it's going to work, but is moving forward and actually has a draft of something to submit to someone for feedback. Inside of finish your dissertation, you're going to hear me saying, give your bare minimum effort. Now, people get real upset when I'm like, do the bare minimum. They get so upset, especially on the internet. But the reason why I'm telling you to do the bare minimum is because you are brilliant, but you haven't given yourself enough time to see it. You haven't given yourself enough space to see it because you're so worried about what everyone else is going to think that you haven't given yourself enough time to ask yourself, what do I think? What do I think about me? What do I think about my writing? So when you show up to give the bare minimum, it helps you to conserve your energy because you're going to need energy to process emotions and to work through them enough to put words on a page. When we do the bare minimum, what I'm asking you to do is follow the process. That's another way of me just saying, I've outlined these steps for you, and all I want you to do is follow them. No matter how you feel, I just want you to follow them. Because I know, and I have 8 years of proof of when you do follow them, you get exactly what you want. This also requires you to know and to work from the assumption that writing happens in stages. When you study the most professional, the most seasoned writers, what you will see is that they always have a process for how they write. That is how they are able to produce at such a high level consistently. My friend TJ, as he was working towards tenure, he was submitting between 14 to 20 manuscripts a year. Did you hear me? 14 to 20 manuscripts a year. In order to produce at that level, he had a process. Our process here is write what you know, share it with somebody, revise and build and repeat this until you get to the point where you're like, it's like it's 70, 80% done. It's good. Let me give it to my chair. That's the process. I want to talk about Dr. Mimi Owusu. When it came down to writing her proposal, she was like, oh, I need to get this done in the next 2 months. My chair said, I got some funding, I got some opportunities because she wanted to do a very creative dissertation. She's like, so I got to do this in 2 months. And I said, say less, let's just do the process. Mimi probably messaged me at least 2 to 3 times a week for all of those weeks, being like, I don't know if this is like, at first it was like, I don't know about this. This seems too simple. In the middle of it, I got a SOS message that was like, nope, I'm scared. It's not working. I'm like, is it not like, are you not putting words on the page? She's like, no, that's the problem. It's happening too easy. And so she was freaking out. And you might be like, I wouldn't be freaking out if I had pages. I want you to imagine right now where you are, you who are here, how you're feeling right now when it comes to writing. Imagine tomorrow you write 10 pages like that. Do you know what that would do to your brain? Your brain would be like, something's wrong. This has to be cheating. How could I go weeks, months, years and struggle to write? And now 10 pages are like that. So it makes sense. She was freaked out. And then towards the end of that 8 weeks, she was rewriting the entire like proposal over and over because she had a process and it did not feel as heavy or as hard. And she defended that. And her committee said they had no notes, no changes. They gave her a standing ovation. That is what happens when you follow a process. It's not that she's better than you or that she has something that you didn't have in terms of like more time or more money. No, she just followed the process. And she also will tell you she did it in 10 hours a week. Okay, so let's go to obstacle 2. I don't think I have what it takes. This usually shows up because maybe in the past, maybe your story is similar to mine, where you had a faculty tell you you're not a good writer. Have you heard of the thing called the Writing Center? That's exactly how she said it to me. Or the program director being like, "We made a mistake. You're not supposed to be in this program because you can't even show up. You're not even a good writer. We don't even understand." Maybe you have like all these things that people then said to you, weighing on you, and you're like, "I haven't been able to do this before. What makes you think I could do it now?" Maybe you're looking at other people in your cohort in your program and you're like, how they moving so quickly? They must know something I don't know. They must have more help than I have. And remember, y'all, like put a yes if I'm resonating with you. Maybe you say some version of, I don't believe I'm working hard enough. So, or I don't believe I deserve to get to the end of this. I think I'm too lazy. I think I'm being inconsistent. Right? Maybe it's all of these. Okay. I don't want to limit you. So I'm going to use something. I love to use this analogy. Yeah, I love thinking in analogies. Okay. And if you have attended the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat, then you probably have heard me use this analogy. I want you to imagine that your mom or parent, whoever feels more safe for you, comes into a room, comes into your room, say you were younger, and or maybe now, because I love a Disney World. Okay. Okay, let me focus. Say, if you clean your room, we can go to Disney World. Right. And what does it mean to clean your room? It means make your bed, put your clothes away, vacuum the floor, and wipe down the surfaces. That's it. If you do these four things, we're going to Disney World. And you said, huh, so if you're student A, you say, it can't be that easy. No, let me tell you why it can't be that easy. Because I've been asking you for 50, 11 years, can we go to Disney? And you've been saying no. You've been saying every reason why we can't go. And now you're saying if I just do these four things that I do every day, I already do them. You saying if I do that, we're going to Disney. And so since it can't be that simple, you say to yourself, no, I'm going to make sure she tells me we are going. So I'm going to declutter this closet and I'm going to build a new bookcase. You see all these books on the floor? I got to do something with them. So that's what you say because you like, I want to prove that I deserve to go to Disney. But the issue is your ADHD didn't got a hold of you. And now you're sitting in the middle of the floor with all these, you got even more clothes on the floor because you started with the decluttering first. And then you got pieces of wood and glue somewhere in the corner and you're overwhelmed and you're burnt out and you can't keep going because you're tired. And now you're worse off than you were when you started because you wanted to prove that you deserve to go, even though the original agreement was to do those four things. Y'all are with me? But if you are student B, you do the four things. You make the bed, you put the clothes away, you vacuum the floor, and you wipe the surfaces. And you say, oh, that only took me a few minutes. Let me start packing. Okay, because I need to plan my outfits. I need to start planning what parks I'm going to, what restaurants I'm going to. And you have the energy to do that. You ain't rushing last minute. You're not rushing to put clothes in the suitcase the day of the flight to get there and miss your flight and all of that. You're not doing that. You let the process be the process. You take her at her word and you do those four steps. And you find that you probably had time to declutter your closet while you're packing. And you probably go pick up a book, a bookcase later. Which brings me to Dr. Natasha Winston, who everything that could go wrong in the doctoral process, I would say went wrong for her. She was in a program that they did group dissertations. I know, go with me. They did groups of six. That's how they started off. You were put in a group of six people, and the six of you, the goal was to work on a dissertation together. But the first step was you take your exams as a group. So they set to take their exams, and I want to say something. I may have the details wrong, but essentially the story is the same. Say like 3 to 4 of them didn't pass the exam. And because everyone didn't pass, like because those 3 to 4 didn't pass, that meant everyone didn't pass. So they had to resit for their exams, their qualifying exams. And the same thing happened. And they were also supposed to be working on a proposal. But as you can imagine at this point, there's arguments, there's fight, people getting annoyed, right? Because your degree is on the line. So the group goes from 6 to 4 to 2. That is when I meet Dr. Winston when she's down and I tell her, yeah, this ain't, I don't think this is going to work out. Like, you need to prepare that your program may come back and say something. She was like, no, no, no. 2 weeks later, I got a SOS email from her, and we hop on the phone, and she says, you were right. They have dismissed me from the program. She was dismissed because her and her group didn't pass their exams twice, and the program felt like they didn't make enough progress on their proposal so that they were going to be dismissed. But in any process in higher education, there is always an appeals process. So as I was helping her to like work through that, I said, we're going to rewrite this, we're going to write a proposal to show a good faith effort that you can do the progress on your own. It was just the group slowing you down. So she works really hard over 2 weeks to write a 3-chapter proposal. You with me? She writes the proposal in 2 weeks. She turns it in, and the program coordinator says, yeah, nope, you're still dismissed. Thank you, but no thank you. Bye-bye. And so we coach through this, and she decides to go to another doctoral program, the same institution, but another program. She has to retake classes. She has to retake exams, even though she passed it the last time. She has to retake the exams. It set her back like a year and a half. And when it came down to writing a proposal, she remembered the process, and she was able to whip out a proposal in about 3 weeks. She goes to her, she schedules her defense, and the day before her defense, her chair passes away. Can you imagine? You finally do all of this, and it feels like one thing after another, her chair passes away. So they have to reschedule the defense for a few more weeks in the future. She gets to the defense, and they're like, this is beautiful. Love it. It's great. But we just don't think this is your proposal. They're like, it is great. It's just not the one you should be doing. And of course, in her mind, now she's feeling like it felt last time in that last program. See, last time this is what happened, and they kicked me out. But that's not what this committee was doing. This committee was saying, it's good. We just know it's not the thing you're passionate about that you should be doing. So we're going to ask you to rewrite this proposal based on what you should be doing, what lights your soul up. Her frustration, her angst wasn't about the writing. She was like, I know I can write it. Her angst was, I just want to get done. And me, along with the rest of the Qual Scholars community, was like, yeah, but think about how good it's going to be. We were able to hype her up enough so that she rewrote it. But I want you to hear the theme of Natasha's story as well as Mimi's story. They stopped caring about, like, it stopped it being less about the writing process and more about how do I take care of myself when all these big emotions show up. Because what y'all are doing to become a doctor is some scary shit. It's hard work. It makes sense why you feel the way that you feel. You need energy and time to be able to work through that. So that means we need less time and energy to go towards writing and more of that to go towards how do I take care of myself so that when you are standing on that graduation stage, you feel confident, you are present, you know what's going on, you see your family up there acting like silly, that you can actually be there. That takes time and energy, and that is what Dr. Winston was able to do. Here's another soapbox I'm going on. You becoming a doctor, you finishing your dissertation isn't about you proving that you're worth it. If I say it another way, this is not about you going up to your committee and proving to them, convincing them that you deserve to be doctor. You already deserve to be doctor. You're here. What did I say? 50% of people didn't make it here. You deserve it. You earned it. You're here. This is about working with a group of people who are more seasoned in research and asking them to help guide you on your first time of designing and writing up research. That is it. This is not about convincing anybody. You already did that. You deserve it. If I need to say that over and over for the rest of this presentation, you deserve to be here. You deserve to be at graduation. You've already proven that. Let me move on before I go too deep. Okay, third obstacle is my committee won't approve like this timeline or this process. They won't believe it. It's not for them to believe it. It's not their goal. And because you're no longer convincing them that you deserve to be here, you also don't have to convince them to believe in your timeline. Let's go back to our students. So, student A is very nerve like comes from this workshop, is excited. It's like, Dr. Lacy, I could do this in 90 days. Bet I'm going to my chair. You go tell your chair, you're like, yes, I went to this workshop. I'm doing this in 90 days. Your chair looks at you like, I don't know. I ain't never seen it. I ain't never seen a doc student do that. I couldn't even do it. That's what they love to tell you. They love to tell you how long it took them. It took me, I couldn't do it. So they say, let's do, instead of 3 months, how about 6 months? And so you're like, all right, guess I'll do 6 months. Because if my chair don't believe in me, how I'm gonna believe in me? That's what you're thinking to yourself. If I don't believe how, if they don't believe how am I gonna believe? They know better, right? They're the expert. And so you wait for them to tell you what to write, when to write it, and how to write it. You don't trust your own voice. You don't trust that your ideas are good. Why? Because whenever you tell them, this is what I'm thinking, they always got some negative to say. And you don't feel comfortable enough with them. You may not be conscious of this, but if you're not submitting feedback, or whenever they do give you feedback, you can't open it, you can't read it, you might see feedback as like proof that you don't deserve it, proof that you're a failure. So you stop writing, months go by, years go by. You with me? Student B has the same worries. Like they're also excited. They also came to the workshop. They also are a little bit worried. They go tell their chair, and their chair says the same thing. I don't believe it. I ain't never seen it. I don't think you could do it. But student B goes, it's okay that you don't believe it. You don't know this version of me right now. You gonna know in time. You just don't know right now. Because student B is like, ain't no way if I show up with a full proposal in 90 days, are you going to tell me I can't move forward? That don't even make sense. So student B is like, since that don't make sense, I'm going to let you not believe it right now. I'm going to put my 10 hours in every week. I'm going to submit 70% completed drafts. I'm going to give this chair a weekly update about my progress. And I'm going to see feedback as collaboration. And student B is going to get to the end of the 90 days with a full proposal. I'm asking you, who do you want to be? Not who you are right now or how you think you see yourself. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in this process? Dr. Danielle McArdle, and I don't know if she's here, we started working together because she was working with, and I know these situations I'm talking a lot about negative chairs, but I want to say Mimi has a lovely relationship with her chair. So I want you to know this is not just I don't just work with people who have poor relationships with their chairs, but Danielle did. Like her chair, or at this time she's her advisor, was the biggest op. Okay. The biggest op. And Danielle had failed her exams 2 times. Yeah, so she had to retake them. She had to take them 3 times. And every time that she would have to retake them, her chair's insults or her advisor's insults would get worse and worse, telling her she's awkward, she don't know what she's doing, she talks too much, she doesn't understand the literature, she will never be a good research. Like anything that you can name it, her advisor verbally said it to her. And so we started working together during this process. And one, I taught Danielle the writing process that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. But then two, we spent the rest of our time talking about how do you deal with an advisor like this? How do you deal with people like this, period? But in this case, how do you deal with this advisor? And we were able to come up with strategies. So she passed the last time, and she got a whole new committee And you would think like that solves the problem. Most people think, oh, I'll just change my chair and that will solve it. What you don't realize is that faculty talk to one another. So although Danielle had a whole other committee, their perception of her was colored by what the last advisor had to say. So they were micromanaging her. Pretty much, she had to turn in a draft every week. Think about that. She had to produce a draft of something every week. What if your chair was like, produce a draft every week? And it wasn't like, oh, this is great. No, it was scathing feedback every week. But we have a process for how to deal with feedback. We have a process for how to navigate your committee. So we work through that. So Danielle does everything, jumps through every hoop. She gets to her proposal defense, and her committee says, I mean, I know you did the things, but this ain't it. We can't pass you. She fails her proposal defense. Now you can imagine that she was cussing and fussing. Now Danielle don't cuss and fuss in that way, but that's my interpretation. And we met. We was a writing retreat here in Atlanta, and I told her, you're gonna take a month off because that was a pretty hard loss. And if you work with me, I probably will put you on timeout at some point. It's okay. It's not going to ruin your timeline. I promise you. But I told her she had to take a month off and travel and do things to fill her cup back up because we can't push through. If you try to force through when you feel so hurt, you're, it's going to cause more harm. So she takes her break and she comes back, and I say, now follow the process. If this is what they want, let's give it to them. She was able to rewrite her proposal and submit it to them in just 2 to 3 weeks. And it was approved. Do you hear the theme of this? Like we're talking, I tried to choose stories to show you that even when your worst fears come true, because many of you, that's where you're getting stuck at, is that you're worried about, well, what if I don't pass? Or what if they tell me I have to leave? Or what if they tell me I don't pass? These are real life examples, people you could talk to right now who did it. Your committee opinion, it doesn't matter. And they are not the one to set the writing timeline. This is your project. It's not theirs, it's yours. You are doctor. This is your research. This is what you care about. So it don't matter what they think you can do or what they don't think you could do. Chris, committee, listen, y'all, if you was around last year, I was trolling Chris. I said, Chris, you're gonna finish this proposal. I think originally I was like a month. Right. Chris process was like the exam and the proposal are kind of like meshed. And at first, Chris used to be like, I don't know, my committee says that they can't do it, that I need to take time. But after enough trolling, because I love to troll for, for positive reasons, if you talk to Chris right now, if Chris was to unmute, he would tell you, I don't care what my committee say. I know I'm graduating. I know I wrote that proposal in record time. I know I defended it. I know I was able to answer every question. I know they're getting this final draft next month. I know that. Because when you have a process, you're like, it don't matter if you don't think I could do it. I know I could do it. That's what I want for you. Is for you to believe in yourself. But no matter what your obstacle is, stop relying on your feelings to be the reason as to why you do something or don't do something. And instead, learn to follow a process. It don't have to be this process I'm about to talk about. It could be somebody else's process, but follow it. Okay, so let's check in. What's one thing that is sticking with you so far? Let me know in the chat. What is sticking out to you? What is staying with? What are you going to take away with you? Let me know in the chat. Remember, y'all, I need y'all to talk back to me. I'm almost making you hopeful. You suspicious? Oh, I love it. I love it. I because I was around my family, I haven't been around them in so long. So I've been here hiding out. Yeah, I'm a huge introvert, okay? And I went like hanging out with like some of my cousins' friends, and everybody knows like I do like astrology readings and whatnot. And so they like to ask me questions, and I'm like, you don't want to do this. You don't want to go down this road because you're gonna get scared. And they had that same thing that you said of like I'm getting suspicious. Why do you know me? Like you about to motivate me to go run a marathon or something. Listen, I'm that friend you call when you need an enabler. Okay. You need somebody to hype you up. That is me. That is me. Okay. No, you don't have to tell the chair you're doing a 90-day timeline. Like in my I'm tell you, I ain't nobody, I don't work for nobody but myself. Okay. I if you don't have like a y'all a BFF type relationship with your chair, I just wouldn't even tell them. I wouldn't even tell them you came to the workshop. I wouldn't even tell them what process you are following. I wouldn't tell them nothing. Yes, Kristen, just pull up to the defense and being like, what questions do you have for me? And they are going to be blown away, Lisa. They're going to be blown away because they're going to be like, we know that you did this in record time. And not only did you do this quickly, it's good work. What happened? What's the secret? That's how a lot of faculty end up being on my email list. They're like, what is going on? Thank y'all. Tell me, what day will you finish your proposal? What we do inside this group is we write down what we're going to do. The more that you say, I will finish this proposal before December 1st, 2025, the more you say it, the more you write it down, the more you think it, the more you see it on a sticky note somewhere, the more you will start to believe it. This is why people tell you to stand in the mirror and do affirmations. I'm not telling you to stand in the mirror. I am saying write it down, write the vision, and make it plain. What day will you finish your proposal? Is it December 1st, January 1st, September 1st, Monday? Because somebody can do that. I've had people do that in the weekend. Okay, before Thanksgiving, November 14th. Yes. 2 weeks. Come on. Yes. 2 weeks. Even if you just wrote it down every day, you'll be shocked. Let me know what your research is about. You can tell me in a few words, you can tell me in emojis or sentences. I want to know in regular language. Listen, for right now, we all cousins. Just let me know ain't nobody gonna judge you with how you describe your research. You don't gotta be like my daddy would say, you don't gotta be using those $1,000,000 words. Let us know in regular schmegular language. What you talking about? What's your dissertation about? What are you studying? Foster youth academic attainment. I love it. Admin teacher relationships on teacher self efficacy. Ooh, global health. School principles, ethical decision making. Listen, that I'm sure that's a lot. Energy deficiency and androgens. I think it's androgens in men and women. I've been studying it. I just never had to say it out loud. I'm realizing I would love to know what you find out, okay? Because it will help me a lot. Okay, perimenopause is real. All right, this is not about me. Okay, let me go to my next slide, or not. Okay, there we go. So the 90-day plan here is I'm operating off of the assumption of a 3-chapter proposal. Right, you got the introduction, you got the literature review, you got methods. Let me bring this down so you can see this. Right. Introduction, I like to think about it's an executive summary of sorts. The introduction is making a case for your study. It's like, so what? What is the issue? You're introducing us to the problem or the big issue, and you're telling us why it matters, why we should care, why we should read the rest of your dissertation. That's the purpose of an introduction. And usually it's about 10 to 15 pages. This is where people will decide after reading this, should they read the rest of it? The literature review, then, once you introduce us to the problem, then you need to tell us what do you think about the problem and what do other people think about the problem. I want you to think about a literature review as you, the person or the researcher, having a conversation with other people who research similar topics to yours. Imagine all of y'all are in one room and y'all are having one big group discussion about what is the problem, what has been done to solve this problem, Why are those solutions not effective or not as effective as they could be? And what can we do differently? When you think about the literature review from that point of view, right, then do you hear that that means that at the core of this literature review is what do you have to say, doctor? Your doctor. The paperwork for graduation is just a formality, it's just paperwork, semantics. You are already a doctor. You are already an expert. So we are coming to you, expert, and we say, what is the problem exactly? What's the problem associated with principles and ethical decision making? Why should we care? We hired them to do the job. Let them do the job. Why does it matter if their decision making is ethical or not? And imagine you are having a conversation with 50 other individuals about that. That's what the literature review. So once you have told us what has been done, you've showed us that conversation, pretty much you showed us how you got to the conclusion that you've gotten to, like how you got to your perspective. Now we need to know, so what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do differently? And that moves us to the methods chapter or section. And in the methods section is where you tell us, okay, based on how I see this problem, I think we should do XYZ. But we need this type of information in order to do XYZ. So I'm going to go collect the information from these people in these ways. And once I get that information, I'm going to do this analysis process. That's what the methods are. What data are you collecting? Who are you collecting it from? How are you going to collect it? And what are you going to do once you have it? That's about, so the literature review is about 20 to 50 pages. Methods is about 10 to 15 pages. I'm giving you ranges because it differs, but this is what I've seen on average across doc students. Dr. Tiffany Alexander, Halloween of 2022, I had just moved to Georgia and I was piloting group calls. Now we do them all the time, but like I was piloting a certain type of group call. And Tiffany said, Dr. Lacy, I just need to graduate by May. Something about Tiffany you need to know is that her brother actually gave her the money to invest in the Finish Your Dissertation Institute. And so she was very clear with me that she is not going to waste her brother's money. So she was on me. I don't think I've ever had a client who was like on me the way she was on me because she was like, my brother gave me this money. I got to make the most of it. So she comes to this call and she says, how do I graduate by May? I said, let's do the math. Essentially, you need to write and defend your proposal before the fall semester is over. So, really, by December 1st. Remember, I said it's Halloween, and she needs to do all of that by December 1st. She freaks out, as you can imagine. She freaks out. And as a group, for a good 20, 30 minutes, we were pouring into her about all the reasons of based on what we knew about her in that short period of time, why she could do it, how she can do it. We talked through how she dealt with her supervisor at her job, who was giving her more and more work as because her supervisor was also writing her dissertation, but told Tiffany she couldn't use work time to write her dissertation. But that's another story for another time. We talked about how she could still have date night with her boyfriend, but also write this and how she could do it without burning out. She defended on December 1st. She had a full dissertation by March. At one point, her chair was so funny because she had the cutest relationship with her chair. He was like, I put your data in Chat GPT. And she was like, whoa, wait a minute. This was, y'all got to remember, right? 2024 was when it was just coming out. But her chair was so invested in the work. Eventually, they like analyzed it together. They didn't use it, but I think he was just so excited that he found a new toy. But my point is, he was excited, he was invested. And that's how that was a big reason of how she could do that along with the process. So it comes down to understanding the purpose of each chapter and understanding what goes into it. Now, I know that y'all might have outlines and whatnot from your program. What I'm talking to you about is how to think about these chapters because that will help you way more in writing. So, going back to the introduction, right? What is your core issue? Right. So, my research is on how Christians practice musical worship in Barbados. Right. The question then is like, why does that matter? Like, what's the issue with how Worship music is practice. What's the central issue? Is it community? Is it younger people no longer continuing the tradition? Is it the, I don't know, island has been overrun by secular music? I don't know. I'm making this up, right? But like you introducing us to that core issue. And then your research that you're going to conduct is a small piece of that big issue. So if it is, younger people are no longer going into the church is the big issue, Angelica might focus on, but the young people who are in the church, like what's keeping them going? Oh, worship music. She might have a hunch that it's worship music. So then she will funnel us in the introduction through that process. Is that making sense of how I'm using that example? I could use another one. Right, but your introduction is supposed to be like, this is a big problem, but what's the little problem you're going to focus on? Once you get clear on what the little problem is, now you know what's your purpose of research. The purpose of my research is to study, again, making up words, young people's experiences with worship music in Barbados or something, right? Like that's my purpose. Your positionality then is we could have 10 people doing the exact same study that you have, having the exact same research questions, having the same core problem that they're focused on, but there will still be 10 different ways that they will approach it. Let me give you an example. We could all be taking a trip from New York to Miami, but we could get there different ways. Some of us like to be in control and don't care about how long it takes. So we are going to get in the car and drive from New York to Miami. Some of us are like, oh, this is a vacation for my kids, for my responsibilities. I'm getting on the train. I think it might be a little bit wild to take the train from New York to Miami. I don't even know if you can do that, but go with me in this analogy. So you may take the train from New York to Miami because you like, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to read some books that are not related to this dissertation. And I'm going to enjoy this 2 or 3 days it takes to go from New York to Miami. Some of us, though, may get on the plane. Why? Because I'm not doing all that. I want to get there as fast as possible. The beach is waiting for me. Do you notice though, all three groups have the same goal in mind? They want to go from New York to Miami, but they have three different ways that they are going to choose to do that. This is especially for my people, for those of you who have experts on your committee, the person who wrote the book about it, who created the method or whatever. You might be like, well, the way they did it is the right way. But then that is not you taking time and being like, but I have a perspective. It might be similar to theirs, but you are someone who has a different life experience, a different understanding of the literature, a different way of thinking. So your approach is going to differ. That's what positionality is asking you to name. Who are you, and how does that influence the work that you're doing? How does that influence the perspective that you have in this research? And on a slight topic of positionality statements, please just stop listing your identities, right? The goal of a positionality statement is to say, this is who I am. This is why this work matters to me. This is how my life experiences have shaped how I come to this work. Because we need to know you as the researcher. Does that help with chapter 1? Let me take a sip. It's sorry, y'all. I've been talking, so we're gonna go over a little bit. I understand if you need to go, but if you are rocking with me, I'm here. So chapter 2, the literature review, then it's like, what do we know? What do we already know about this piece of problem that you are exploring in your research? What are the themes that we already know? I like to say, if we were to go talk to the old white men in your field, because that's usually who wrote the original books, if we were going to talk to them, what would they say about the problem? And how do you think about the problem in the same way or in different ways than them? Usually, how you think about it in the ways that it differs is highlighting what's missing. It could be a group of people missing from the conversation. It could be a particular method missing from the conversation. It could be like, well, you didn't consider these factors or these variables. That's what people say. Highlight the gaps of the literature. That's what they're asking you to do. Like, what's missing from this conversation? The only way, though, that you can really see the gaps is if you give yourself enough space to think about, how do I understand this? What am I saying that other people are not saying? You know what that requires then? It requires you to trust yourself. It requires that you might just a little bit believe, maybe I know what I'm talking about. Maybe the reason why people are disagreeing with me isn't because I'm wrong, it's because they don't have the same experience. Is it because, like, maybe they have more privilege? Or maybe they just never entered their mind to think about it in the way that I see it so clearly. Once you know what those things are, those gaps, then you want to tell us, why does it matter? Why does this whole topic matter? Why do these gaps matter? Why should we even be concerned with it? Maybe it's a gap for a reason. And you're going to tell us, based on your perspective, why it matters. Your voice does a lot of work with the literature review. A literature review is not meant to be a book report. We do not want to read your summaries. Okay, that's boring. Nobody wants to read that. Especially those of you writing 100 and 200-page literature reviews and ain't got no structure, no nothing. You just writing. We don't want to read that. Okay, I say that with all the love in my heart. What we want to read is a very clear, concise argument. When you are reading other people's literature reviews and you're reading their research, you're reading their opinion, their perspective, their understanding of the world. It's an informed opinion, but it is still an opinion. No shade to the opinions, right? You're going to give yours, but I'm trying to make it clear to you that writing a literature review is not about, did I do it the right way or the wrong way? It is about, how do I understand the literature? How do you answer that question? How do I understand the literature? What do I think it means? That's what you're writing for us. Chapter 3 is, okay, so what are you going to do? Right now that we understand the problem, we got more context, we understand your perspective. What you gonna do? What you got to offer? What information do you think we're missing? What information do you think we need in order to, like, fully understand this problem more or fully demonstrate your perspective? What's the best way to get that information? Do you need a large group of people, or where you can go wide and make generalizations? Do you need a smaller group of people where you can go deep and get into the nuances? Do you need a hybrid of both? Is this like an evaluation? That's what we're talking about when we say research design. Is it qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods, and evaluation? Once you understand the information, okay, so how will you get that information? Do you need to talk to people? Do you need to review some documents? Do you need to study some behaviors? What do you need to do? Why do you need to do it in that way? That's what data collections is. You need interviews, focus groups, you need a survey. What do you need? Who do you need it from? Who are the humans that you need it from? How would you describe these humans? Where are they? How would you be able to determine if they both look the same? If your study is not about looks, how will you know who is appropriate for your study and who's not? And then again, why are you going to do it this way? Why, if you did it this way, what is the outcome you're hoping for? What are you hoping that the information is going to reveal that we don't already know? That's your justification. This is when you get into limitations, if you use that language, or boundaries, or the significance. Can I go over chapter 2 again? Okay, so why won't you let me go up? Okay, so chapter 2 is, you are building an argument, right? If I was to ask you, this is kind of appropriate for the time. I like using this example because it's inflammatory. No, what? I'm not going to use the example. I'll use another one. Who won the beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake? If I was to ask you, Janika, like, who won? Who won that beef? You would have an answer. Like, let's say you were into it. I don't know your listening habits, but let's say you were into it, right? And y'all are saying K dot, right? If I was to ask you why did Kendrick win? You're going to tell me reasons, right? I'm going to tell you based off of euphoria alone is why he won, right? That's my argument. What's your argument for why he won? Right? You might talk about lyricism, you might talk about delivery, you might talk about production, you might just have a hate for Drake. I don't know, right? But you have a reasons as to why you say Kendrick won. Your literature review then is you saying, okay, here's the problem on the table, and here's what I think about it. This is what these other people had to say about it, but this is what I got to say about it. I agree with person 1, 3, and 6, but person 2, they lost me. Person 8, they in another world. But these 3 rocking with me. But here's also something that nobody talked about that I'm bringing. So based on this, I think we need to find out more information. And that's why the purpose of this study is XYZ. That's what you're doing in a literature review. You're saying we all study the same problem, but we all have different perspectives. So it is a conversation between you and other researchers. You're writing a 20 to 50 page paper that says, here's how the field sees this problem. Here's what's been done to address this problem. Here's why that's not working or it's not as effective or it's missing these perspectives. And here's what I'm offering that we do as a result. And here are the theories that support why I want to do it in this way. Right? So, does that help you with chapter 2? Let me know if you have other questions. Okay, awesome. Okay, so most students, this is a perfect, thank you, this is a perfect segue. Most students, because most faculty, most people will say you should start with the literature review. Reading feels familiar, it feels safe. But the issue with this is now you've been reading for months. You've read 300, 400 articles and books, and you got all these notes and all these spreadsheets, and your Zotero or whatever is filled up. But you can't write. It's like you cannot translate those notes into written pages. And you sitting there like, but I should know enough about this point to be able to write. But that's not what happens. You just get information overload. What does your committee actually care about? They care about a strong proposal that will lead to a successful IRB application. When you go to IRB, when you did that city training, for those of you who have that at your institution, what they care about, is it ethical? Are you going to harm people? Are we going to get sued? Is it ethical? And what are your methods, and does that actually help you get what you said you wanted to get? Now, they don't go that deep into it. Your committee is more about, does these methods help you to get what you get? But IRB just cares about, what are the methods you're going to use? Are they ethical? Do we need to worry about something else? That's it. The whole purpose of a proposal is to say, here's who I'm going to get information from. This is the type of information I'm going to get from them. This is how I'm going to get it from them. This is what I'm going to do once I have that information. And I'm going to do it in accordance to the rules and the policies as outlined by the Institutional Review Board. Your proposal defense, 99% of the questions are going to be about, what data are you collecting? Who are you collecting it from? How are you collecting it? Why are you doing it that way? What you going to do with it once you have it? They won't ask you about the literature. IRB will ask you for one paragraph at the most about the literature. No one cares about the literature. It is important research practice to ground your study in the literature, but no one's asking you about it. So the issue is and I'm probably getting ahead of myself, I'm sure. When you start with chapter 2, you have the most energy and focus at the beginning of this process. And so when you use your good, high quality energy and time to work on a literature review, you don't have much left over for your methods chapter. And your methods chapter requires you to make a lot of decisions. And decision fatigue is, I'm willing to bet for most of you, is what's really draining your energy on a day to day basis. I know that most of you, if not all of you on this call, you are the go to person in your community, in your family, in the friend group. If people come to you for advice, they treat you like AI. That's how I'd be talking. I'm like, why y'all be acting like I'm AI? Like I know all the answers. I don't, but I still get calls. How do I do this? And what do I do? And because you are that go to person, you are constantly putting out energy, helping people. You care about these people. You want them to be good and well. So you're willing to show up and do whatever you can to help. But what that leaves you with is depletion and exhaustion at the end of the day because you done made 50, 11 decisions for everybody else and you don't have anything left to give you. So when you come to a chapter 3 and it's all of these decisions, you don't have any energy. You not writing is less to do with I don't know enough and more to do with I don't have enough energy to make the decisions that are needed. I don't have enough energy to wrestle with my anxiety or my overwhelm or my confusion. I don't have energy for that. So I'm asking you to actually start with chapter 3 because that is the one that requires you to do a lot of thinking. And most of you, depending on your institution, you may not have had as many classes to learn research design. You may not have much practice with research design. So that's going to take a little bit more effort on your part to do the like figuring out what is a method, what is a methodology, how do I analyze it, what are the options, and translating what you've learned from your research courses into a methods chapter. So you use your good energy and time to do that. And what's left over is what you give to the literature review. Why? Because we were already established, nobody's asking you about it. But two, you are more comfortable and confident because you have past experience that you can read articles and come up with a 20-page paper. You could do that for a literature review. Okay. Remember, chapter 3 is what data do you need? How will you collect it? Who will you collect it from? And what will you do with it? Answering those questions. That's all IRB is going to ask you about. That tedious application is all about these 4 questions. And they want to know every little detail. Do you know what an interview protocol is? Do you know what your protocol is for analysis? You might know the name of the technique, but do you know exactly what you're going to do? Where are you going to keep this data? Do you got something that's secure? How are you going to talk to these people? Are you going to record it? You mean at their house? Is it a protected population? Like they got all the questions about your methods chapter. Your defense is about your methods chapter. I hope by now that I have convinced you that this is about research and not about the literature review book report. Come on. When you start with your methods chapter, your literature review actually gets easier because now you know exactly what evidence you need to find to support why you are choosing to get the data you're getting. Your introduction gets sharper because now you understand more about your perspective, how you understand this process, and how that is framing what methods you're going to use. And your committee is clear. They're like, oh, I know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. And even if you don't get it 100% right, when you have a strong methods chapter, it helps them to work with you more. I'm not trying to replace your chair or your committee. I'm trying to help you. I'm translating so you can help them help you in my Jerry Maguire voice. Okay. Dr. Rashonda Breeden, when we started working together, she had chapter 1. She had a whole proposal actually. And she was telling me that her chair didn't like it. Now she has the sweetest chair. Sweetest. But he was like, I don't like it. So we were talking about it and I said, yeah, I mean, again, it's cool, but it's not the proposal you want to do. It's not how you're talking to me right now. I think you need to rewrite it. Can you imagine? Like, yeah, you just need to rewrite this whole thing. So she wanted to do a dramaturgy, which essentially is she wanted to turn her research into a play. That was the form she wanted to take it, but she thought it was too creative, too edgy to do. But her chair was on board. So then what came down to is she just needed to rewrite it. We started working together, and I told her, not only will you rewrite this in a month and be ready to defend it, but you're going to finish this dissertation in less than 12 months. We started working together in May. I was like, in less than 12 months, you're going to be done. She was done in January. And she ended up doing a play, but also action research. So that means she had a team of high schoolers helping her. She also won 3 Dissertation of the Year awards. And she worked less during her dissertation than she ever has. At one point, her husband was about to kick her out the house because all she was doing was watching TV and eating chocolate. Now, I'm not trying to say like it was just magic. No, I'm saying because she had a process. It helped her to plan her days better, help her to apply for extra funding. So she wasn't even working. And she had the freedom and the time and the energy to be able to devote to this. And we started with the methods chapter, went to the literature review and the introduction, and her committee loved it. And it set a strong foundation. So, are you getting closer to believing that you could do this in 90 days? Are you maybe still a little suspicious of me, but I'm hoping it's getting closer. What I will expect of you is that you are focused on writing one chapter every 30 days, a draft of a chapter. Let me say it again, a draft of a chapter. I'm repeating the word draft because a draft means it's just one version of this paper. I'm going to have multiple drafts. But you know how you get faster. The reason why all these examples that I'm naming, the reason why they were able to write so fast is because when you see, oh, the point of this process is to write something, turn it into somebody, get feedback, incorporate that feedback, and repeat over and over until you as a group or a pair decide, you know what, it's done for now, let's move on. When you stop seeing feedback as an indictment of your character or if you're deserving of being doctor, you will do it more. Whoever is willing to go through that process more and like the fastest gets done the fastest. You can't skip the hard work. I'm making it simple so you can understand it, but I want you to know that this is hard work. You're gonna do it in 10 hours a week. Why? Because you got other shit to do than to be sitting in front of the computer screen. You got scrolling to do. You got sleeping in on Saturdays to do. You got maybe you need to clean your house. I don't really know, but you got other things to do besides sitting and looking at articles. And you're going to do this by focusing on 3 tasks every week. I'm going to break this down in a minute. So, if we're working in 4 week cycles, week number 1 is you're going to decide, okay, this is the chapter I'm working on, this is the section I have. I'm going to record what I know. You're going to verbally record yourself of what you know. You're not going to start with typing or writing because you will edit yourself. So you talk to yourself. You don't have to let no one hear this. You just record yourself using your phone or software like Otter AI. You record yourself based on what you know, using the questions we talked about earlier. And then you take the transcription of that, you transcribe it. If you're using a software, it probably transcribed it for you. Your phone will transcribe it for you as well. And then you just try to structure that into some paragraphs. Again, these don't got to be real paragraphs. We trying to shape it a little bit. We want this to be as shitty as possible. So we're just putting it into paragraphs. We might run a little spelling check, and then you're going to go read through it and you're going to identify the spaces where, okay, that makes sense, that don't make sense, I probably need to talk about XYZ. You're going to make a little comment on the side. Okay, anywhere that you're like, I need a citation, you're not going to go look for that citation. You're going to put cite in parentheses and you're going to keep moving. Why? Because week 1 is just about getting a shitty draft done. These would be your 3 tasks for the week. Following me, put a 1 in the chat if you're still following me. I want to make sure I don't need to slow down. Okay. Thank y'all. Week 2, then, now you got a shitty draft. We're going to turn it in to a safe reviewer. A safe reviewer is somebody who, even if they gave you the most scathing feedback, you in your heart of heart knows is coming from a good place. You know that they care about you. The stakes are not high. This should not be a person that you're like, oh, like it's gonna keep you up at night if you give them a draft. No, this needs to be a person. I like to use friends. I could use my chair because listen, she loved the shitty draft. This is where I got it from. Now she didn't use the word shitty, that's my word, but she loved it. But maybe it's not your chair, maybe it's your friend. Maybe it's your partner. I love to give something to somebody who don't know nothing about the research I'm doing because they have a different perspective, usually a sharper perspective. You're going to give it to them and you're going to say, hey, don't focus on the missing citations. Don't focus on my notes over there in the margins. I just want you to read this and tell me, how do you understand it? How do you understand what ideas I am saying, the main points I'm making? Where did you get stuck and confused? That is what you're asking them to do. Why? Is because at this point you've been looking at it too long. You already know what you were trying to say. So it's going to be harder for you to identify those gaps. But when you give it to someone else, they can point out to you like, oh, that was clear to me, or I don't know what you mean by this word, or you started saying this thing over here, but then you jumped to something else. That's the type of feedback you're looking for because that is going to help you think through more of your ideas. So while they are over there reviewing that, you want to give them about a week or so to review it. As they are doing that, now you're going to go find those citations. All those times you put cite in parentheses, now it's time to fill those in. I like to start with 10 articles and read those and then incorporate them into the document as I'm reading and going over it. You're looking for what's helping you to support your ideas. And because you already know what it is that you're saying, you already know your perspective because you wrote your shitty draft, reading becomes so much faster. You don't have to read every single word. You don't have to over highlight and find these big quotes because you're not trying to figure out what to say. You know what to say. Now you're going to the literature to support the points that you're making. And when you come up against something that you're like, oh, I forgot to add that, or that's a different point than I was making before, it's easier to incorporate that in your existing draft because you've already have a strong working draft. So it's not going to hold you up. By the time you get to week 3, you're going to finish up your reading. You should have your feedback from your friend with their questions, and you're going to use your notes and their feedback to update your draft, your shitty draft. This is where the draft most likely is going to go from about 8 to 10 pages to 20 plus pages because now you've had time to process and read and get some understanding from someone else. So this draft is you're going to feel more locked in and you're probably going to get it done in a matter of hours because you're clear on what you want to say. You're not spending time trying to figure out what is it that I want to say, what I want to do. By the time we get to week 4, you're just going to do some final revisions and you're going to submit it to your chair. And you want to get it to a point, like I said, a C minus or 70%. You're going to give that to your chair because your chair's job is to tell you how to, like, what changes you needed and to prepare it for the defense. And you're going to schedule a meeting with them. And that is your 4-week cycle. You would do that every 30 days. For your schedule every week, I want you to find 3 days and choose 2 hours each of those days. Now, you can do more than 3 sessions, but we're doing 3 tasks a week, so 1 task per session. You notice that's not 10 hours. I've moved you down to 6 hours. Yes. People will skip this because they'll be like, I don't know, that doesn't work for me. I don't think it's enough. But when you do follow it, right, Ashley? Because Ashley listen, she actually joined Finish Your Dissertation and still was like, your little process you be teaching us, that ain't for me. That's not what she said, but that's my interpretation. She was like, that's not for me. But then one day, for shits and giggles, she tried it and she was able to get so much done. It's taken me longer to explain it than it's going to actually take you to do it. If you are joining us at the 10 pages in 2 days retreat this weekend, We're going to walk through this exact process step by step. So hopefully you are. All right. Dr. Gabby Mallet, she is an associate provost. She has two sons. She is a wife. She is everything at church. She's a social media manager, the administrative assistant, the announcement coordinator, whatever odd job, she does it. So she didn't have a lot of time for this dissertation. She said, Dr. Lacy, I have 2 to 4 hours on Friday evenings. She was able to finish her dissertation by working Friday evenings. That's what I want to say with that. Okay, this last part, and we're almost done with this. Accountability checkpoints. Remember, I told you accountability is having somebody from outside of you witness what you are doing. Accountability starts with a plan. Do you make a plan every week? Do you sit down and say, this is what I'm going to do this week for my dissertation? Not just a long to do list. Do you say, these are the results I'm going to produce by the end of the week? That's what we do every Monday. These are the results. Do you have a writing group? Do you have a community of people that you write with? If you are doing this by yourself, that is probably what's also slowing you down. It is hard to keep yourself going when you're by yourself, but when you're with other people, it helps. I used to be a part of a writing group. We would just talk shit all day. We would do some work, but it was just mostly talking shit. Then I went to go try this other group, and they were like, we talk for 5 minutes and then we work. We were like, hey girl, for the first 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, it was silence. And if I tried to, I actually like tried to talk to somebody, and they looked at me and I said, oh, we don't do that here. Got it. I got more done in the second group than I ever did in that first group. Your environment matters is my point with that story. You might be a part of a writing group, but is it the right writing group for you? And then checking in with your advisor. You need to be able to check in either with your advisor, your dissertation chair, or someone who understands this process once a week. It is more for you than it is for them. Because when you know that you have somebody to check in with, right? Chris will send me a message on Instagram probably every Tuesday, I think it was, to tell me updates. Before he was a private client, he would just give me updates. Most of the time I wasn't able to get back to him because I get so many DMs, but it didn't matter because it was more for him. That's the accountability you're looking for. Okay, so now that we had that, where are you? I want you to think about your number from earlier and then tell me what is your number now. It might not have changed, but maybe it did. What is your level of confidence that you could do this in 90 days? Okay, 9. Listen, I love a good decimal. Thank you. Caroline, you're so funny. Thank y'all for the numbers. Now, you might be like, okay, this was helpful. Thank you for explaining the proposal. It makes sense. Oh, Dr. McArdle is in the building. Um, you're like, this makes sense. But here's what I've noticed for people who are like, okay, because I've had plenty of people who've come to a workshop like this and they are able to finish their dissertation on their own. They never join, finish their dissertation or anything. They might come to a writing retreat, but that's about it. And they usually have these four things in place. They usually have a very strong relationship with their advisor or their chair. I'm talking like y'all sit down week to week, day to day, and you're talking through drafts and ideas and brainstorming and bouncing ideas off of each other, right? Like I think about my chair. I could call her on her cell phone. I could roll up. I knew her house where she lived. And Danielle, you might want to change it to everyone if you want everyone to see it. I knew where she lived, so I regularly was over there for dinner. I'm not saying it got to be like that, but I'm saying it needs to be a close enough relationship where you can submit drafts that are in process. They have a strong community of scholars, people who understand this process, who support them, who encourage them, who do writing groups, who offer feedback on their drafts. They have a person. It could be a methodologist, it could be their chair, or it could just be someone they have a really good relationship with, like a mentor who is helping them to design the research. Because writing is one thing, actually taking the steps is another thing, but designing a research takes some knowledge and some skills that you just may not have. And then they have what I'm calling life support. They have help at home. meals, laundry, cleaning, childcare, somebody to go home to at night and hug when they had a long day. Those things matter. It matters so much. But maybe you don't even have the energy to do these things because you don't have these other pieces. If you're missing some key supports in place, I'm going to ask you to invest in support for yourself. For some of you, you may need to like do one of these $20 cleaning memberships and have somebody clean your house once a month. Now, it may not be to your standards, but it's going to be good enough so that you can have that energy back to go work on your dissertation. Some of you need somebody to bounce ideas off of or a writing group. I'm just asking you to consider what type of support that you need. Because the question on the table isn't, are you going to finish the dissertation? Yes, you're going to finish it. You're going to finish it. It's about how do you want to finish? How do you want to finish? Do you want to keep doing the things that we were talking about, especially with student A, or do you want to be student B? Is my question to you. Something that sticks out to me is like think about where you work or even your institution. It is built in that they have support because leaders, experts like you need support. You are no longer getting paid for your physical labor. Now you are getting compensated for the value of your ideas, for the value of how you think. If you are so worried about laundry or about I got to do all these things that you could have somebody else to do or that you could have somebody help you with, you don't have enough bandwidth then for your best ideas. So when you are hired, like you, the dean of your college they have money for executive coaches, leadership coaches. They have an administrative assistant, a personal assistant. It's in their package when they sign up. Why? Because the school needs them to show up to do their best thinking. They don't need them to show up doing all this other stuff. What is happening? Okay, signs you need support. You're flirting with burnout every Monday. Like Sunday night, you get the Sunday scaries. And Monday, you wake up and you say, it's going to be different. I promise it's going to be different. Weeks are going by, you ain't wrote not one thing on that paper, even though you had every intention to do it, even though you constantly feel guilty and you're tired and you're worried that like you probably won't ever get to graduation. So remember, I said two options. Option one is you stay tired, you stay overwhelmed, you feel like you're running behind, higher tuition costs because you it's taking you longer to make the progress, and you're just overall like frustrated. Joining the Finish Your Dissertation Institute is mean you heard me say stories, and I have more stories to go. Like I have a whole web page full of stories that I could tell you. You're going to finish in less time. You're going to have a process to follow, which means when you show up to work, you're excited and you do it with more ease. Yes, the work is like you're still going to do the hard work, but it doesn't feel as heavy like it did before. And that's going to maintain your energy and your confidence. Because here, this is about you producing your best work. Don't get caught up in my timeline. Yes, you are going to write a proposal in 90 days, but it's going to be your best work. And in my Dr. Natasha Winston voice, you're going to graduate healthy, happy, and whole. So you should have the email probably a long time ago because I'm over the point. But I would like to invite you to join us inside of Finish Your Dissertation. It is a classroom like experience where you are going to have the structure, the process, the systems, the support to finish a dissertation in 12 months or less. I want you to treat it like you do classes. I ask that you come to one call a week. You can come to all of them, but at least try to come to one call a week. Our call schedule starts off on Mondays where we make our plan. Someone from the team will be there to help you make a doable plan for the version of you who's lazy, that you consider lazy, who you consider unmotivated, who ain't got it. We make a plan for that version of you. Why? Because we want something that's doable. So even on your worst days, you can still show up and get something done. That's called the scholar planning routine. That's what we follow on Mondays. On Wednesdays, I host office hours or a Q&A, and that is where I'm there to check in on you. What you doing? How progress going? You see how I've been trolling Ashley? Ashley, wait, did you put your number and I missed it? Cause I wanted to see what the number changed. You see, I'm there now. This is what I do on calls. Oh, you did. You said a 9. Okay, I'll take it. I am tracking your progress. The team is tracking your progress, and I'm gonna check in with you on Wednesdays afternoon. Once you have that clarity, a lot of people come to that Wednesday afternoon call and they use it as co-writing. They're listening to me talk. They're also listening to other people ask questions. So maybe you like, I don't like groups. I'm not talking. That's fine. I just ask that you come and listen. I always learn more from hearing other people get coached or hearing their questions than I really do when I'm asking it directly. Because when you're listening to someone else, you can sit back and you can absorb and you can process through your own lens. And a lot of times you can see what's coming up for you in the future. So you might be in a proposal, but somebody else, like Chris, is writing their discussion chapter and they have questions about, like, how do I do this? And you can hear us work through that and you know what to plan for in the future. So you're prepared at every step because you're watching people go through every phase of this process. Plus, you get to learn about some cool research. And then Wednesday evening, we write as a group with a write with us session. This is showing you how to get better. This is about practicing your skills of how do I get work done in a 2-hour block. Someone's going to lead you through a process. We use Pomodoro sessions, 25 minutes of work, 5-minute break. We do 3 rounds of that. We check in at the beginning and we check in at the end, and then we're done. And the amount of work that you can get done in this 2 hours will blow your mind, especially as you get used to the process. Y'all, let me take a sip. Okay, well, now it doesn't want to work. Hold on. Now, let me refresh this. I don't know what's happening. I thought the Mercury retrograde was over. Okay. You also get access to our vault of resources. So we have a dissertation vault and a resource vault. The dissertation vault includes chapter guides. So, how do I write the literature review? How do I write my methods? How do I write final chapters? Now, when it comes to methods, it's mostly qualitative because I'm a qualitative researcher. We do have people in the group who are not writing qualitative projects, and they definitely will help. You could do a lot of crowdsourcing in the circle community. But in this vote, it's mostly telling you how to set yourself up to write and what questions you need to be answering. In the resource vault is more where you're going to find information about how do I handle feedback. I get nervous every time my chair gives me feedback. How do I handle that? How do I talk to them to keep them on track? Like, I'm for real, I don't have motivation or confidence. How do I do that? You can find videos like that in there. And those of you in FYD, you can let people know what your favorite resources are. Every month, usually the fourth weekend of the month, we have the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat. This is leading you through the scholar writing routine where you will learn how to write 10 pages or more over the 2 days. We meet Saturday and Sunday. We're meeting this Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 4 p.m. Eastern. And so we do that every month. And then it's the best doctoral community around. This is not about elitism. It's not about trying to one up you. No, this is about, are you ready to work at a high level? Are you ready to have high expectations, but the support to go along with it? Many of you already have high expectations, but you may not have the environment or the support that you need to rise to those expectations. We are going to show you how to work. I do expect you to do things in a timeline that you may think is not possible. I know it's possible. I'm just waiting on you to catch up with me. I see a vision for you. I believe in you. Like, I know we may not know each other very well, but I know you didn't make it here by chance. It wasn't an accident. And I know that you are capable of more than you are probably giving yourself credit for right now. So I'm going to challenge you and troll you to show up and produce your best work in less time without burning yourself out. And I'm not only going to hold that expectation for you, me and the community are going to show you how to do it. No question to me is dumb. Okay, because I'm someone who got all the questions. And so if you even said something like, listen, okay, this is the last week in August. I want to go on vacation. I don't want to take my laptop on vacation. How do I get this done? We gonna talk about it. If you say my chair getting on my last nerve, I'm one track change away from throwing a book at them. We gonna talk about it. There's nothing you're gonna say to me that I'm gonna be like, we don't do that here. Nope, we gonna talk about it because I want you to feel prepared. The more prepared you feel, the more confident you are. And y'all see, here's my slide. But you know what? We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about Natasha Lee Johnson. She was someone who, when she came into the group, she's like, I'm not a group person. In fact, I'm not even talking. I'm gonna keep my camera off. Every once in a while, she would turn the camera on so we could see the baby, but then she would cut it off. And she didn't say much, but she would listen and she took it in. So when her chair told her she has 3 weeks to write a proposal and defend it so she can get a fellowship, she did that. I'll come back and talk about these other folks if we have time, but I want to show you that even if you don't consider yourself as a group person, this could work for you. You have two options to join. Option one includes Finish Your Dissertation Institute along with private coaching for 3,000. And private coaching is we meet once a month for 45 minutes. I have learned to leave it at 45 minutes because an hour is usually too much for most people. You be ready to call it quits. Not because I'm yelling at you or anything, because listen to how I've been talking today. This is how I'm going to talk to you when we're one on one. That could be a lot. Or you might be like, nope, I got it. 45 minutes has usually been the sweet spot. And so that's what we do once a month. You're going to leave that session with a plan of these are the assignments you need to complete for the month so that when you show up on that Monday planning call, your planning goes by faster because you have the plan that we used. I only have 4 spots available though. Kristen is probably about to yell at me. She's my business manager. So you got 4 spots. Okay. Option two is join and finish your dissertation. You get access to the calls, the planning sessions, the office hours, the writing sessions, the vault, the community, and the writing retreats. And that is 1,500. Again, please check your email and I'll put the link if somebody else hasn't done it already in the chat. In that email, there are 3 links, there are 3 options. You could choose to pay for private coaching, which is a flat fee, or you can join Finish Your Dissertation. You can pay in full or you can do a payment plan. If you are looking for an option like Klarna or Afterpay, you want to go to the pay in full one and you'll see that option to use one of those payment processors. You're going to complete checkout and then you will get an email that says complete your welcome form. It's just a few questions so we know more about you, what's happening for you, so that we can know how to better support you. Once you complete that form, you get instant access to the Circle community. That's where you're going to find the videos. You're going to have access to the community. You can get started tonight if you wanted to, depending, maybe you got the energy, maybe you're ready to go. And then you're going to prepare over the next couple of days to join us for the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat that is Saturday and Sunday. Within your first few weeks, Dr. McArdle and myself are going to check in with you. She's in the chat, I think, still. She's our client success coordinator, and she's just going to check in and make sure you have access to everything and be your guide as you get onboarded into the community. We'll also have a welcome call on Tuesday, September 2nd. All of this will be emailed to you, by the way, but we'll have a welcome call on Tuesday. Just again, to make sure you have access and you understand and you're good to go, because we want to make sure that you feel comfortable with everything. But because y'all are still here, even though I'm way over schedule, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for your grace. And also, I just want to give $300 off because it's not easy to take 2 hours off of your schedule. And since you are here, I'm going to tell you this price will most likely double when we open up again for November. So I just, if you are on the fence, if you're wondering, I'm going to tell you that this is the time to sign up. And just if you sign up by the next 2 days, just you will also be able to join us. You already sacrificed. Whether you join us or not, you've already sacrificed. And I want you to think about, what do you need? What type of support do you need? Because we've already established that it's not about time, it's not about what you know, it's not about your committee. It is about, okay, how do I take care of myself as I have these big emotions because I'm doing something that is hard? What type of support do I need outside of myself to make it easy to show up? We hope that you want to join us, but I also understand. Now, you may have some questions. So if you do, please let me know in the chat what these questions are. How is this different from other writing groups? Well, from my understanding, a lot of other writing groups is just about giving you a space to write. No one is teaching you a process for writing. They might say, I'll look over your drafts and give you feedback, but they're not teaching you how to do that for yourself so that you can feel confident that when you show up to your defense, you know, like, no, I did this, I put the work in. If you're still at the place where you're like, but I really don't have the time, remember, this is a 10-hour a week system, but 10 hours is at the max end of what's expected of you. I'm asking for more like 5 to 6 hours. You don't need to put your life on hold to do this. Do you offer payment plans? Yes. So you can either do the pay in full and use Klarna or Afterpay, or you can choose our payment plan, which for you it should be about 200 a month. I'm scared I won't keep up or fall behind. That's fine. I know fear is normal. Here's the thing, there are plenty of people, and they could tell you, you have an off week. You might have an off few weeks where you ain't got it. But when you come back, you just pick up with the process. You just pick back up because you know the steps that you were on and you know what step comes next. You're never sitting there being like, oh, what do I need to do? You know how to pick back up. Because I'm about teaching you a process more than I'm about telling you exactly what to do. Do I need private coaching or is FYD alone enough? Both of them works. What it comes down to is what is the type of support that you need? Most people who choose private coaching are choosing it because they are either working with an accelerated timeline, they have some special circumstances, or they are really like, I don't do the groups. I need to work with somebody one on one. There's other reasons in between. I've had people join a group and then join private coaching. Those options are available as well. But it's about what do you need? Do you have plans or resources for after the proposal? Yes, that dissertation vault will walk you through the rest of the chapters. That is why Chris has zoomed through these final chapters because it's all there. And I'm constantly updating them. And especially if you are someone who's comfortable with using AI as a thought partner, I even give you prompts of how to do that. What happens when I sign up? The moment you enroll, you'll get a welcome email and you'll also be routed to a page that says complete this welcome form. Once you complete it, you immediately go into the circle community and you get started. And I'll see you on Saturday. What if I'm not writing a qualitative dissertation? It's fine because what did I say? I am helping you establish the habits that are going to help you produce your best work. Your habits include writing, it includes time management. It includes energy management. It includes putting boundaries in place for those people who are robbing you of your time and energy. You learn how to say no to them. I'm teaching you a full system of how to show up as doctor. You know how to look up things. You know how to ask people questions. What you may not know how to do is all the other stuff surrounding it. I think that's it. Okay, let me see what questions y'all have. Can I please get like a takeaway? What are you taking away from tonight? I want to say thank y'all. Y'all have given me so much grace. I'm looking at these questions. I will answer everyone, but before I lose everyone, can you please let me know what are you taking away from tonight? Whether you decide to join us or not, I just want to know what are you taking away? Yes, so you will get a recording. I will send this out so that you'll have it. Check your local laundromat. Absolutely. Okay. Um, I think I went too far up. We love a good referral. Okay. It will free your mind. My favorite resources. Okay. Does option one start when coaching begins? No. So option one starts when you get into the group. right? Because you'll get immediate access to finish your dissertation. So that part starts when you are promised 6 sessions as a private client. So that is going to happen once a month to keep you moving. Okay, that's not a question. What was the time? Oh, Kristen, if you're still here, you put it at 7 o'clock Eastern. Um, okay. No, that's Danielle's question. Did I miss questions? I thought I saw more. I was on medical leave, just coming back before I can start the proposal. Yes, Lisa, I do think you should join. I'm trying to think of who was in a similar situation. Chris was in a similar situation. Danielle was in a similar situation. Oh, everyone can see this. So, Lisa has a paper to write before she could start the proposal. Both, I believe, Chris and Danielle, but I know Danielle for sure had a paper to do. She had data and she submitted it as a manuscript, and then she was able to start her proposal, and she can tell you the exact timeline, but it was a matter of 2 to 3 months. So I think we will work together, Lisa, to do both of them by December. To me, the worst case scenario is the paper gets done and you have a very shitty version of your proposal, but at least you'll have a strong starting point. Okay, did I miss anyone's question? You're welcome. Anyone want to talk about their experience in FYD? Because it may help to have like a real person talk. Ashley, is yours in October? I can go double check when yours is ready to renew, but I want to say September or October. Chris, are you gonna talk to us? As my eye just tries to take me out.
Oh, I can talk, no problem. What you want me to say? Oh, what I got get out of FYD?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I found out about FYD through one of my information science doctoral friends. They always used to post Dr. Lacy's videos, and I was like new to the whole doctoral program. I was just in my classes, and I kept seeing Dr. Lacy talk about 12 months or less, and I was like, for real? I couldn't even see it because I was just in the classes. So that's how I started showing up to the meetings and just listening. I wasn't working on a proposal yet, or even or even taking my quals. So that's how I started. And it's been very helpful to have community of people to troll you, to be there for you, because I had the whole experience of my advisor. I wrote my narrative probably about 10 times. And then my advisor basically at the time opened up a website and was like, she doesn't study race, so she can't help me, and showed me a list of people. I'll never forget that because I was in Baltimore where my wife is, and I was like, don't say nothing. I was like, what do you do? Because crying just felt like, no, wrong vibe and just unhelpful. But I found another advisor. She doesn't study my area, but she has, as I've told her to her face, your scholarship is children's lit, Asian American studies, but your care is top tier. And so that's what I get most out of her. And constructive criticism. She's an A personality type. So she's very into copy edits and different things, but she's helped me in different ways. So it's been helpful. And then I did take with all of that, I did take my qualifying exam and pass. And then I was there in May of, 2023. I came to the 10 pages, 2 days. I had nothing at all but ideas and anxiety. And I will always shout out Eduarda and Noreen, who helped me get a concept map. And from there, I wrote my proposal, and I passed my proposal May 23 of 2025. And I am currently working on my dissertation. I also told the group that I doubted anybody would let me interview them. They trolled me for that because I thought I'd get 10%, meaning 3 people, and I've done 34 interviews. So too much data is what I have. So I will always say the community is great. Having people to come and write Monday, Wednesday night with is always good. And then to hear about their lives and just encourage them and show up. They show up to your proposal because Dr. D was there. So, I mean, I appreciate the love and support and seeing other people and cheering for them too and listening to them. So it's a great community. I have no regrets. And my committee is still like, I don't know if I think you can defend it in December, but they getting this draft next month. So I will just keep at it and keep going. I'm gonna be Dr. Wiley. That's all I got. So
I
thanks.
love it. Thank you. Someone had a question about can you form your own writing groups and sessions outside of Write With Us? Yes, there's plenty of people who have like their own like offshoots of like groups, and you'll see them put it in circle if like anybody wants to write, and they'll usually someone will drop a Zoom link and they'll meet there. There for a while there was a Sunday night group happening. I don't know if it's still going, but there was a group of people who would meet on Sunday nights to write. Kristen, how did you write your proposal in 3 weeks?
Every time you say that out loud, it sounds really crazy. And I posted that on my Instagram stories when you shared it last week, and everybody was like, "Was this you? Is this actually you, or is this like a fictional character?" And I was like, "Why y'all think y'all ain't seen me in the month of Sundays?" Um, I started private coaching with you right before winter break, and I told you that I needed to be done by this year because I didn't want to pay another year of tuition. And I had some concepts of what I wanted to do because we had to go through the whole changing my chair, going back and forth about methodology. And I felt like I was really stuck on the methods chapter because no one on my committee was helpful at all. So we, in literally like one private session, mapped out my entire proposal from start to finish. And as soon as school went on break, I was up at my nonprofit office for maybe about a week, maybe that first week of break. I would only work for maybe about like 4 hour chunks. There were some that I went over 4 hours just because I felt like I could knock things out between that and the library, and I just wrote. And then after I did the writing, I kind of let it get cold for a little bit and went back and forth on some revisions. And then when school opened back up and we were back fully on campus, I submitted to my chair and was just like, "Hey, girl, I hope you enjoyed your break. Finish. Let me know your comments."
Okay, so since I have both of you, did I tell the process today or did I tell you something else? Because I know me, like when I go to a webinar or workshop, I'm like, this BS. They made this up. This ain't the real thing.
You told the
Seriously.
process. You said what you did.
Hmm.
I love how you always teach us to plan for the best and worst version of yourself, because I think we really do try in earnest to be the best version of ourselves. But lives, you might have, everybody has off days, doesn't mean anything is wrong. So learning to make adjustments for that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, anything to say, Kristen?
No, I was gonna say I think you taught the steps how you have always um taught us the steps and taught us the process. And like I think similar to Ashley, like this seems way too simple. Like and Mimi, like this seems this seems really not that complicated. But like now that I'm on the other side of it, like no, that's what it is. And like even the message I shared today with you, with me going back and forth with my chair, like no, this is what's happening.
Mm.
This
Oh,
is it.
yeah. You sent the message like I would have crashed out a year ago, but I
Definitely would have
didn't.
crashed out an entire year ago. I thought about that immediately. I was like, if this was 2024, Kristen, prior to FYD, I would have lost it. And I probably would have told my boss, I can't come to work today because I'm just in shambles because I'm just angry. But I told Dr. Lacy I used my FYD tools. I had a mini crash out on the inside, but we meditated about that before I had to go to the event and try and recruit people to come to school. But I gave a very professional, very factual response back, like, "No, ma'am, that's not what we're doing. And please sign my form for graduation. Thank you."
Okay. Thank y'all. Y'all, there's so many stories. Ashley put hers in the chat. Um, Oh, she's coming on.
Yeah, I had to be camera ready because
camera ready.
I had a wrap. I took a nap before this because I was tired. So but let me move this so that I won't be looking at my other screen. But I do want to share that I have a chair, although Dr. Lacy says I give her too much credit, but she really, really is a good chair. She does a whole lot. But I gave her a really, really, and I don't even use this word often, but a shitty proposal draft, even though she thought it was awesome. But it was cite like all throughout my draft. And I did not realize, like, she was reading it. She was like, oh, this is so good. You just need to clean it up. But you want to know what? We're going to go on and schedule this defense. And so I just want people to know that it works. And Dr. Lacy, her story, when she said I sat down and I was like, I'm going to do it Dr. Lacy's way. That was in January when she told me in December that, hey, this is the process. I was rejecting it. And I think you all saw on the thing that I joined maybe around October or November of last year. And so I was listening to it. I just thought she's crazy. But one day I was so frustrated. I was sitting in the middle of the library, and it was one of those things where, of course, I couldn't do her process because you have to talk out loud. So I couldn't do that process while I was in the library, but I said we can do it on my head, in my mind. So I just type, didn't worry about anything, just let go. And I was so surprised that I was able to get so many pages down. And I did not spend, because sometimes I would spend like 3-4 hours in the library. I mean, I was only there for like 2 hours. And then I was like, I'm going to go get my nails done. That's my treat for myself. And I couldn't believe it. So, and one of my friends are on here. And I just want to say that you all, I mean, if you want to get done, and she is trolling me. Shoot, and she got her posse trolling me too, because Kristen be checking in and Danielle be checking in. All of them be checking in saying, Ashley, are you getting it done? And so I already did one interview. I'm doing my second interview this weekend. I am collecting my survey data because, yes, it's crazy that I'm doing the mixed methods. If Dr. Lacy tells you pick just one, do that. Pick one. Okay. But I'm already invested, so I'm doing it. And so I just wanted to share that part of my story. And y'all already heard part of it if you read it in the chat, that I did, because I saw a couple of people on here said that you're caring for, your loved ones and they have dementia. I know it's real, and also getting other people to do certain things so you don't have to worry about it. I have somebody to come into my house every 2 weeks to clean up, just so that I won't have to do it. That's one thing off my plate. And so you have to build that community and that support where you can find it. And this is one of those ways that you can build that support. We can't do it alone. At least I feel like you can't do it alone. It's so frustrating and so mentally draining to do it alone. So
yeah, and I would agree with Ashley on that. I was like, I'm an only child. Like I don't have siblings. It's just me. I'm not really close to my cousins. I'm in Houston by myself. Obviously, I have friends that I went to college with that are here, but nobody else has gone through the doctoral process. Like I have folks that have gone to law school or have done other advanced degrees, but nobody else has really done a doctoral process. And so there really wasn't a community for me to be able to be in community with, because everybody would just, ask me, how's school going? And it's just like, that is the worst question to ask somebody who is going through this process. And even if I did answer, you're really not going to understand what I'm saying, because that wasn't your experience. Like writing a dissertation is not the same thing as taking the bar. And so even though we're trying to relate, we're really not relating. So this is actually really not helpful. So being able to be in community with people to be like, yeah, I'm working on my data analysis, or I'm cleaning my transcript, and somebody knowing what that means, or like how I crashed out with Danielle at the last retreat, because I didn't listen to Dr. Lacy and I was like Chris and wanted to ask all these questions. And now I got a transcript that I'm looking at that's 38 pages long. You know, I was definitely in her text messages like, what the heck did I do? But like being able to say that to somebody that understands why this is such like an overwhelming process, because my chair definitely hit me with 30 pages for 7 people, really not that much earlier today. So being able to have people that really understand what the process is when you have those moments of overwhelm is also very helpful, because I think it's very easy for us to get like dysregulated and fall apart when we have these moments of overwhelm. But to be able to just show up in community and be like, this is where I'm at, and not really having you do a lot of context explaining around that, I think is also helpful to keep you moving forward, because we do get it. Even though our walks in life are different, we do understand.
I want to say, what does Oprah say? Tweet that. Yeah, this is a sample. It's not. Listen, they are here on a Wednesday night. Ashley took her hair out of a wrap. I didn't ask her to do it. I just want you to know it's real. That's my point. This is real. And they are around. You can join the circle community. We do have a free version of it, so you can join. And you can ask questions of people if that'll be helpful, if it helps you to make a decision. What I want you to do, if you are someone on the fence, if you're like, I really do want to join, but I'm not sure, I'm gonna ask you to sleep on it. I'm not trying to pressure you into a decision. Sleep on it. And when you wake up, I want you to write down, what is it that I need to know in order to make a decision? Because oftentimes we say we're going to think about it, but we don't go beyond that. What is your process for thinking about it? Based on our conversation today, and then when you get the recording, you can go back over it. But what is it that you feel like you could do on your own? What does it feel like that you're missing and you would benefit from having support with? And do you think, based on what you've learned about finish your dissertation, would that help you to fill in the gaps of the support? Like, use a logical process. I would love for you to journal. I know journaling ain't everybody's ministry, but if you can at least use it as a framework to process out your thoughts and make a decision from a logical, rational, and an emotional place, you will feel more comfortable about this decision. If you have some things that you're like, I'm not sure, but I don't know if I should put it here, you can email us. We're happy to answer your questions. And maybe for some of you, you just may want to join us this weekend for the 10 pages in 2 days writing retreat to see for yourself. If you choose that option, because you can go to the website and join. If you choose that option and at the end of the retreat, you say, actually, I think this group is for me, you will use that amount, like the 250 you use to sign up for the retreat, it'll go towards your FYD enrollment. So I hope that helps someone, because you might be like, this sounds good and I'm excited, but I don't know. That will be what I would advise you to do. What additional touch points or individual attention should members expect beyond the group sessions? So especially in the first few weeks, you are going to have Danielle or Dr. McArdle. What would you like for us to call you, friend? I don't think I ever got that. I ever asked you if you prefer doctor or not, but uh, Dr. D um, will be checking in. So she is going to reach out and email. She's going to be your first point of contact to help you to make sure you can get access to the community. If you're like, I don't know where to start, she's going to be there. I'm also going to be checking in via email with you to make sure you have everything. And I'm going to be on Wednesday calls. I know that's still a group thing, but I want to reiterate that I will be there to answer any questions. I am usually able to check in with each person one on one multiple times a month just through the calls or seeing them through the retreat. So you get support in that way. And then if you are submitting anything in Circle, either myself or another team member will be responding to you and reaching out to you. So let me know if you have any other questions related to that. Dr. D is what you have your students call me. Okay. Dr. D it is. All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to say thank you for being here tonight. This is great. Like, y'all have no idea. You help me as much as I help you. I would not have gotten through this week without community and support and just overall get like just the good energy that is here. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank y'all. I will be in and out next week as I continue to wrap things up, but I am fully ready and excited to be back with y'all for real, for real. But thank you for giving your time tonight, and I hope to see you inside of FYD, y'all. Good night. Okay, Kristen, don't go nowhere. Chris, don't go nowhere. Okay, good night. Oh.